Hi, my name is Francois. Thank you very much for joining us for this interview. Today I talk to Barrie van Zyl. Barrie van Zyl is the head of account management at Iris here in South Africa. Iris is a global company that provides software to the financial services and wealth management space. And I talk around technology with Barrie. We look at things like the advancement and adoption of technology by financial services providers, financial practices, and so forth. We also look at, why businesses struggling to choose the right technology. Why do they find the process so overwhelming? I also get into, are financial planning businesses really embracing technology in the first instance? So that was quite an interesting conversation. When one needs to get into choosing a specific technology that you would want to implement to see whether it's the right thing for you, what is the process that one should go through, and what is best practice in that sense? We'll also discuss, often a lot of time and energy goes into selecting technology, and then businesses don't really reap the benefits that they thought that they were going to do. And I get into why that is the case with Barrie as well. And then I ask a very important question to Barrie to find out, what is the best approach when a business wants to start adopting technology, or if they've been trying to before and they haven't been successful, what would be the best approach to follow? Then lastly, I talked to Barrie about a new initiative that Iris launched recently to help businesses and users during this time of crisis. So I can't wait to get into it. I'll see you on the other side with Barrie.
This is Propulsion, the financial professional's catalyst to exponential growth. Are you a driven and ambitious financial professional, but you are finding it hard to break through to the next level? Or are you struggling to build and run your practice successfully? Join Francois du Toit, a leading consultant and trainer, as he interviews not only the experts, but also people you have never heard of before, but who have done amazing things, about how they run their practices, the challenges they face, how they overcome those challenges, their failures, which tech has improved their business, how their revenue models work, and other practical aspects. We go deep so you can learn as much as possible. And here is your host, Francois du Toit.
Good morning, Barrie. Nice to have you here. Thank you for taking the time to chat to us this morning.
Good morning, Francois. Thank you for having me on your virtual coffee session this morning. You're talking about your face for this. I hope people aren't worried with my face now on your channel. But again, thanks for having me on your show this morning.
It's a pleasure, man. And I really appreciate the time that you're taking. I know you're extremely busy during this time. And it's great we were having a quick chat before we started, just like how smooth things have been running on your side. And if I say smooth, I'm sure there's a hiccup here and there, or every now and then as it goes with technology, but just suddenly getting into this place where people are working from all over. You've got a team of people that reports into you, and suddenly everybody's everywhere. And I guess in some sense, I don't know if anybody's ever been to Iris's office. It's quite a big office there in Fourways, or in Bryanston, really. And, it's like you are working remotely, because sometimes people sit far from one another. I remember if I had to walk around there, to find someone was quite a mission in the beginning. But anyway, that's a little bit off the point. Barrie, I want to get going with sort of asking about, when it comes to technology, there's really two aspects that we think about, or that we need to consider, or that we have to deal with when it comes to technology. And on the one hand, we have the advancement of technology. In other words, how quickly technology changes, how quickly it gets better, or how quickly new technology is introduced to markets. And then on the other hand, we have the adoption of that technology. So you sit in a situation where, there's all this new tech, and then it comes so quickly that people just sit and watch and they do nothing. Or then they go and say, whoa, guys, if we don't do this, we may find ourselves very quickly in a position where we become irrelevant. And they try and adopt these technologies, and there's also some challenges there. So, I mean, what are you seeing in terms of these two aspects, Barrie, and just in terms of those two?
Francois, you make some good comments there, and I think there's a big contrast between those two, and we see businesses at each end of the spectrum when we look at how they are adopting technology and deploying that within their own businesses. So you're right. Technology has advanced at a rapid pace. We're sitting with about 50 billion smartphones. You know, at this point in time in the world, considering that we only have a population of 7 billion, and these smartphones are really connecting everybody across the globe. And I think where we're sitting now, everybody working from home, that technology has really helped people just stay connected. So technology has evolved. It has grown. It has made our life, simpler, made it better. But I guess there's a lot of businesses on that spectrum where, on the one hand, some businesses are really, really just adapting to it. They're evolving. They're looking at new apps, new ways of working. They're deploying that into their businesses, and they're really trying to stay at the forefront of technology. While on the other side of the spectrum, there are businesses that are still, looking at paper-based, systems, or still within their offices, they've got client files, and they've got outdated systems, or they're just working on Excel, and those kind of things. So they're not really sort of up to date. And I think where we are finding ourselves at the moment is that we do see businesses a little bit scrambling over this period of time when we are in this lockdown, and they're just trying to engage with clients and just finding ways of engaging with clients. And that's why we've seen sort of tech like Zoom really skyrocketing. People are jumping onto that, downloading that app, because it's not just from a business point of view where you can collaborate, but also you can keep in touch with clients, etc. So I think technology has expanded at a rapid rate. And although I guess we, from a mobile technology point of view, humans can almost keep up with that pace, I think businesses have been very slow to adopt certain technologies in the financial services industry specifically.
That's a very interesting point you're making, to say, that humans are capable of keeping up, but businesses are the ones that slow. And I guess the bigger the business, the slower they are maybe to adopt. Although you would think that big business, would be investing a lot into that. Is that something that you see? Where is there a difference between the adoption of smaller businesses versus bigger businesses when it comes to technology?
It's quite ironic because we do find that your larger businesses, especially the ones that's been in the industry for a very long time, they still they're coming to terms with the fact that they're looking for a single instance of customer. They are, they do have fragmented systems. They're trying to get all these segments of their business to integrate with each other, to talk with each other. And although they've got the capital probably to invest and get this right, it's very hard because it's a slow process. There's a lot of decision making during that period of time. And perhaps building a strategy, they're looking ahead in terms of what they can achieve and what they can do, and they've got the money to do it, but they don't have the time, or they perhaps don't have the resources, etc. So we have those challenges on the one end, and smaller businesses, although they're a little bit more agile and they can get technology deployed, much faster, they perhaps sometimes don't have the capital to actually spend on that. So we do, again, we see very, very stark differences in terms of deploying software within businesses, no matter what their size are. But we do see some commonalities. People are looking at, just to find that single instance of a client, and wanting that sort of instance to filter through to various parts of their business, and that is I think a common thread that we're seeing throughout businesses, no matter what their size are.
Okay, that's very interesting. And there's a word you said that keeps on creeping up everywhere I'm looking. It's this word, legacy. I know back in the day when we worked for the same company, that's also always been a discussion point around, we've got this, but then the old system. And that's maybe the problem with bigger businesses, is that they've got these older systems that needs to integrate with newer systems. And that becomes quite a challenge. But let's bring it a bit to the financial advisor and the financial professional. Maybe it's a small practice, a medium-sized practice, or even in the bigger practices. When it comes to choosing your technology, I think there's a lot of challenges where people don't know where to start. They don't know really, what to consider, what is right for them. What do you find in practice? How are people going about choosing what it is that they, when they get to having to choose that technology? What's happening in practice? Do you find the same, or am I missing the point there?
No, it's actually a very good point that you're making there, Francois. there's a company by the name of Linktank who does a survey every year within the financial services industry, and their latest survey that was released in December now 2019, they actually indicated that one of the challenges of businesses, about 40% of the businesses that they surveyed, said that they're finding it very hard to find, compare, and select software. So I think with the vast amount of software options available, it does become quite daunting when you look at what is out there. Where do I start? It's a challenging experience, and that survey actually showed us that is really the case. We see it with businesses as well. They perhaps over the last couple of years they made a number of decisions to try and expand its technology within their business, only to almost start back at square one, just purely because their technology strategy didn't evolve as they were starting to deploy technology within their business. So certainly those challenges are there, and it makes it a little bit difficult for a company just to almost get a starting point, and then from that starting point grow the strategy from a technology point of view out.
I mean, where do you think we're going wrong with this? Again, working with a lot of financial advisors, you see them every now and then they move systems. I mean, I know people that's moved from Xplan to other systems, and that's moved from other systems to Xplan. And every now and then they get like, no, this isn't working for me. And then they want to change again. And I mean, is there any sort of thing to say, well, where did we go wrong in our initial decision? Or is it a case of what you thought you got was not necessarily what you got? I believe it's the first thing where we don't do a proper needs analysis properly, and we don't exactly understand what it is we want. That's one part of it. There's a few other things that then play to that after you implement the system. But just initially, before you make a decision on any technology, it doesn't even have to be, I'm not talking just about, we can talk about CRMs, we can talk about communication systems, you can talk about any kind of system in your business. Some idea maybe where people go wrong and things that they should focus on before they make a choice or before they get to that point of starting to even look at different systems?
I think there's a number of reasons why we get it wrong. I'm not going to just pinpoint it on one. I think every single business out there is quite unique. They got unique systems that they work on. They got different ways of working. They got different personalities, different amount of staff. So there's a number of reasons why businesses get it wrong. And I guess the starting point is that majority of business don't have a technology strategy in place. One of Linktank's survey results also was that 60% of businesses only review their technology strategy between 1 and 3 years. And with technology moving as quickly as it is, waiting 3 years just to revisit your technology strategy is way too long. That should be a topic, in your agenda, almost on a monthly basis. So I think, people don't have or businesses don't have a technology strategy in place. If they do, they don't revisit it often enough. They also just take too long to actually do anything. So they try and overcomplicate things. They try and look too far down the line. It's one thing to actually have a good vision for your business in terms of your whole technology ecosystem, but you also don't want to take 5 years just to get a strategy in place before you actually do anything. And that leads to a lot of indecision. We see big businesses. There's a lot of staff movement. So people that you talk to in the beginning and put a strategy in place, and somebody new comes in and they relook at that strategy, and again, then nothing happens. There's a lot of other things as well. I mean, there's projects that is instituted, and then there's project creep that comes in, and other challenges, or there's a merger or acquisition, and then you have to change your way of thinking. There's maybe not enough capital within the business to actually get a strategy in place, or to actually move forward. But I think also there's a lot of businesses out there that just do nothing. They're literally just standing still, and they have this concept of, well, I've been doing the same thing for the last 20 years. Why change? So I think there's a number of aspects here. You can't just pinpoint it on one singular thing, but definitely I see those challenges in businesses across the spectrum.
Earlier you mentioned about, people are still very much paper-based, and they don't automate and those kind of things. So is that an indication that we're not adopting technology to the level that we think? It's amazing. I had a conversation with somebody in the week that gave me a call on Monday, and they said that if you think about bigger FSPs, right, and you've got all these advisors working in that FSP, and suddenly you tell them, listen, you now need to use Zoom to interact with your clients, or you need to use Microsoft Teams, or you need to, like, obviously the thought is, or there's always this group of people that comes to mind that they will never touch a keyboard, a key on a keyboard ever. Okay, they hardly use their phone. They use their phone to throw someone with it. That's about the best use they've got for their phone. But the feedback has been that these people have actually been adopting these things during this time where they don't have a choice. And that was quite an interesting thing for me. So I think this is actually a fantastic opportunity now where, I don't know, the current circumstances are showing us what is actually possible, and that we don't have to be afraid of these technologies. It can be a great help. So do you think that maybe that adoption rate is now going to go up? Already we've seen that with things like Zoom. I shared that graph with you where Zoom has just skyrocketed in terms of adoption suddenly. They get more downloads than most of the big social media platforms combined at the moment. So do you think that that's going to happen? And is it going to last? What's going to happen after this?
Yeah, it's a tough question to answer. I think after this, definitely our behavior and our thinking will change within business in terms of how we engage with our clients. It's frightening to think that there are businesses out there that do not have any type of CRM system or client management system, where perhaps their client contact details are all in paper files at the office, and now being working from home, they can't even access, their client list. And you're right when you're saying that there are businesses out there that they don't even have laptops that can do Zoom calls, etc. They have to perhaps look at their phones to now try and scramble and get in contact with their clients. But certainly I think this is definitely a time of rethinking how we engage, just not with our own businesses, but how those businesses actually engage with the end consumer. During this period of time, you can just imagine how people are and consumers are worried about their investments. Markets are falling. There's a number of things happening. Iris, we're very privileged to be part of the essential services in the country during this lockdown, because we do, as you rightly said, offer software services to the JSE and the financial services industry. And we basically moved our operations to people's homes about 2 weeks ago. We did extensive testing in terms of making sure that we are able to facilitate this, and that we can actually help our clients, businesses managing their clients. So we've done some great work, and I'm very proud to say that we are running this business from people's homes, and I think that is probably moving forward what a lot of businesses out there are going to be looking at. How do you engage with your own clients, and things like client portals, and online portals are I think going to be it's going to become, I think, more relevant rather than the robo-advice. We've, again, just referring back to the survey that LinkTank has done, roughly about 70% of financial services businesses in the country don't have any form of online digital engagement or a platform to service their clients or just engage with their clients. And that's actually a frightening figure, and I think a client portal is going to become extremely more relevant moving forward rather than the robo-advice, because we do see that consumers want to be in touch with their financial advisors during this period of time. They still want to transact. They want to have that human interaction, even though it is digital or via Zoom or a Skype or WhatsApp call, whatever. They do want to chat with their advisors to find out what is happening, what should they do. They still want to transact. There are clients out there that want to update their beneficiaries, and they just need to drop a digital signature somewhere and send it back to their financial advisor, and the financial advisor still need to be able to get in contact with their product suppliers, etc. So all of that now needs to happen remotely, and I think a lot of financial advisors really will realize the impact that a client portal or things like chatbots and video conferencing, all those kind of things, what the impact that will have on their businesses. And I guess we're going to have a new way of working, and technology is going to form the backbone of that moving forward.
Yeah. I've got a friend, a very good friend of mine, that we've spoken about this twice now in the last week, where he's got a client who needs to sign something for one of the insurance companies, but they don't have a printer at home. They don't have a scanner. there's no way for them to sign and get that stuff back, and it's something that they need to do urgently, because they want to do the payment holidays thing on their product, because they're unable to pay, and the debit orders went off, or is going off today. Not an April Fool's joke. It's really going off today on the 1st of April. But that's a real challenge, and the amazing thing is how many of these product providers are not accepting some of the forms of electronic signature anyway, where they have an issue with something. I'm not sure what exactly that is, but I mean, surely then this time again is going to force them to say, well, we've got to change these requirements that we've got and what we insist on if you want to transact with us in terms of that. Barrie, I've been part of conversations a lot of the time with businesses, be it small or bigger businesses. And maybe we've already really answered this question throughout the morning, but I'm just wondering, if you look at corporates, for example, I mean, smaller businesses, I understand when they go with gut feeling, or I ask my friend, or I look at what most financial advisors are using in their businesses, and it often comes down to a cost consideration where you decide based on cost what system you're getting. But you get bigger businesses that they've got this rigorous due diligence process where they go through, when they decide on a particular system. And then you find that the users don't adopt the system. You find that, they have difficulties with the system being slow, or the system falling over, or things like that during a process. I mean, my opinion, I'm going to give you my opinion, and then you can maybe latch onto that. But I think it's also a question of businesses trying to build these intricate systems and have everything that you can possibly think of integrate with these systems. And that's usually where, and that's the thing that users don't see at the back end of a system, is all of the other technologies that needs to talk to the systems, and everything needs to talk. And if one thing breaks somewhere else, it's not necessarily even the system that they've implemented. And this is something I've seen over and over and over again, regardless of the system. I don't know. What is your take on that? Do you think it is an issue, or are businesses on the right track trying to integrate every single thing that they can think of, or should they be keeping things simpler?
I think it just boils down to the company. One of the things you mentioned there is your user adoption, and we do often see that there's a little bit of a disconnect between what the business wants to implement and the strategy that they're undertaking, and what the users actually want. So the advice that we often give our clients is that there needs to be a really effective change management process throughout deploying your technology strategy, but also make your users part of that journey. Don't leave them out. Consult with them, find out how they're working, what they want to achieve, and make them part of it. Don't keep them isolated and make decisions within the business, and then right at the end, you just almost like putting their technology in front of them and then expecting them to use it. Because us humans, we do tend to, it's difficult to change, and we form habits, but those habits can be broken. I think what a lot of businesses also get wrong is that they try and overcomplicate things. And again, as I mentioned, it's great to have a technology strategy in place, and that looks at your business objectives and where you want to go and where you want to be in 5 or 10 years from now. But I think where companies get it wrong is that they tend to do too much at once, and perhaps they just need to slow it down a little bit and take it one step at a time. Just look at your own business, look at your inefficiencies within the business, look at where you can be more effective, where you can be more cost effective, where you can be more flexible, etc. Look at that within your own business, look at your users, look at what they're doing, and take almost baby steps, but move forward rather than doing nothing. And I think that's a message for most businesses out there, is that don't try and overanalyze things and move too quickly on that. There are businesses that get it right. They've got huge amounts of capital to spend, and they can get it right almost overnight. But it's really more a technological journey. It's not a we just do one thing and we never look at it again. It's really looking at a long term and evolving your plan as you go along. And regardless of your size, whether or not you're a small business or a large corporate, that's sort of how you need to look at it. It's get one thing done, get it right, look at what the next step is, get that right and expand it. Technology changes so much over time as well that, you might have a 3-year project to get your tech right in a business, but over those 3 years, there's new technologies, and your plan needs to be able to adapt to that as well, just to make sure that you are aligned with what's happening in the technology space and software space as well.
I mean, that sort of answers my question that I wanted to actually ask you next is like, what would be the best approach for businesses to follow when they start adopting technology and when they start introducing technology more and more into their business, or even if they've already got a certain level of technology that they use, but they want to go more. So I just want to summarize what you said so we don't repeat sort of the same information on my question. It's just that, start with your inefficiencies. I usually tell people start with things that are very repetitive in nature and that you could possibly look at automation kind of thing, but go then and look at inefficiencies. So where are things taking a lot of time and a lot of effort, where people could be doing other things that are valuable, and start with those things, because the small win today may seem like, look, we're saving 10 seconds here. This doesn't really add up. But you do that 5 times a day, and you do it every day, every week, every month, every year. Suddenly it becomes quite a number of hours during the year that you've saved because of that small thing. And then what you said was take it one step at a time. So that's very, very important, so that you don't try and adopt everything at once. Build it one brick at a time. Do one thing, sort it out, move on to the next thing, sort it out, move on to the next thing, and don't be on a rush. And I actually listened to a podcast recently, Kate Holmes's podcast, Innovating Advice, and she interviewed a guy from Australia, Stephen or Stefan, I can't remember now exactly his name, but he was also speaking about sort of the same concept, where it says you're on a journey, and expect that to be a 3-year journey. Don't expect it to be an overnight thing. And possibly that's where most people go wrong. We're impatient. We want everything to be done overnight, kind of thing. And I think the other problem is this whole idea about the technology that we are implementing are being sold by management to the users in terms of like in the business that's going to incorporate or implement this, that everybody gets so excited and then they want everything right now. And that puts a lot of pressure on the things. And that's just from my experience, Barrie. So I'll sort of summarize. You can just say, yes, you agree, or no, you don't agree. But that's sort of what I gather from that point that you've made. Barrie, so the last thing as I mentioned earlier, that I saw on LinkedIn, was it the end of last week? Yeah, I think it was the end of last week. It was that Iris launched a support hub or something like that, to help during this coronavirus times that we're in at the moment. So they're offering free support in terms of any technology to any person, not just only Xplan clients, but anybody, as far as I've got it. Can you tell me just a bit more about, why did Iris decide to do this? Why did they decide to start a support hub like this?
Iris is a global company, and I think some of the challenges that we're facing in South Africa is not unique just to our clients here. We see these challenges being faced all across the world, and we do fully support the financial services industry and all the advisors and staff within that environment. And we've obviously have built up some research. We've got a lot of knowledge to share, and we created this Iris support hub during this time. And what it is just it's free technology related information to the financial services industry. So it's not open. Just obviously we do have some information there just regarding Iris and our business continuity planning during the coronavirus period of lockdown and how to work remotely. But it's also open to anyone. Anybody can visit that site, and it just gives a range of guidance, guidance in terms of tools, information, how to service clients remotely, how to access information securely, what are kind of the things that you can look at this point in time to service your clients. Like I mentioned, video conferencing, client portals, digital signatures, chatbots, online communities, etc. So we've just really wanted to share information to the full financial services industry in terms of assisting clients to be able to service their own clients remotely during this period of time.
Okay, awesome. So I think I've put up on the system, where can people access this support? There's a website that you can go to, iris.com/coronavirus-support. There's the address that you can go and visit. Go check it out and see, if you need any help with technology, etc. And yesterday as well, I also shared some information about Link Tank that's also offering some support. And Barrie has mentioned Link Tank a couple of times today. So if you need any help with your technology and ideas, or you get stuck somewhere, you need some help, go check out these resources. I think they are invaluable. Barrie, thank you very much for your time. I really appreciate it. Thank you very much. It was a very insightful conversation. I wish we could have gone for the whole hour. Thanks for your time and for everything you're doing.
Thank you, Francois. Yeah, thank you again for giving me the time to have a chat with you this morning. It was great seeing you again. And good luck to all the financial advisors out there. During this period of time, it's a hard time for all of us. But we can get through this as a community, and we will get out of this stronger. So thanks for your time, and thanks everybody for watching online.
Thank you for listening to Propulsion. If you found this episode valuable, please subscribe and leave us a review on iTunes or your favorite podcasting platform. This will help us tremendously. For more about Propulsion and other valuable information, please visit our website at propulsion.co.za.